Thanks for tuning in again for 2016's first edition of Inside F&M Wrestling. I'm Brad Waldman here for GoDiplomats.com, and joined as always by Franklin Marshall head wrestling coach Mike Rogers. Mike, thanks as always for sitting down here with us. So you're coming off of what's usually one of your busiest parts of the schedule. Last week, you sent a few wrestlers out to the Midlands to compete, and then you also hosted the 4th annual David H. Slayman F&M Open. So let's start with the Midlands. Rick Durso had another strong performance out there. It was third straight year that he finished in the top 8. Really faced some tough guys there in the consolation bracket. So just talk a little bit about his performance out there and kind of where he's at.
I think 41 could arguably be one of the toughest weight classes out there. I mean, from even the guys that weren't seeded were pretty tough, and some of those guys even placed high. So, he did well. He had some tough competition, had to come back through, took a loss in the quarters, and had to battle back through probably one of the toughest consolations, number 1 seed, number 2 seed, number 3, all lost, So the consolation bracket at 141, based on seedings, could have been as tough or tougher than the championship bracket. It was good for him and that's a good, we kind of look at that as a pre-national type, environment, the level of competition. And again, it gets him to see kids that normally he wouldn't see, like the Old Dominion kid and the Iowa State or NC State kid. Teams that we normally don't run up against. We see a lot of the East Coast, the Princetons, Harvards, those type of schools, but we don't get the Midwest or the South, Southeast kids too much. So it was a good experience for him to put his hands on some different guys to kind of get that feel and to kind of battle, 2 days of competition, coming back through and getting back up for those matches, taking a loss, having to recover, come back through and wrestle, back through a tough consolation match. It says something when you have to beat the number 1 seed, the kid ranked third in the country, to take 6th, or take 7th, That says a lot about the depth and the level of talent that was at that weight class. So I think it was good. He looked a lot better now than he did the first couple weeks out of season. His November matches weren't that great. I think he's wrestling more at his level, and every week he goes out, I think he gets a little bit better, a little bit more confidence. He's getting more adjusted to the back down to 141. So we're happy where he's at. He's going to have very some tough matches this weekend, so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, so 141 obviously was a tough bracket, but all the competition out there for your guys was pretty tough. So you had 4 guys out there. Jason Bing, at 149, he was dealt the nation's number 2 wrestler, brand sword instead of Iowa. So just talk about the experience and performance of some of the other guys that were out there.
Again, it's great those other guys are out there. Jason Bing and Scott Stevens and Rob King were out there on attach, and Rob was out there on attach. Just wrestling those guys. Where else is he going to be able to wrestle Sorensen? One of the top guys in the country. So that experience going out there and wrestling against those guys, and again, I think it takes some of the lack of a better word, the awe factor. They're just guys at your weight class, and you see guys out there, top guys in the country ranked, taking losses. It kind of puts it in perspective that hey, we can compete here, and why are they still wrestling? And I'm kind of sitting in the bleachers, and what are they doing differently? And kind of watching that level of wrestling, even if you're not in the mix, what do you need to do to kind of get yourself out there and wrestle? So that experience, I don't think you can really put a price tag on what it does to prepare them for the second half of the season and getting ready for last 2.5 months of season.
Yeah, and then you actually flew back Wednesday morning for the F&M Open. So a lot of work goes into that event. Is it a little bit of a relief to kind of be past that on your schedule?
Yeah, it was. A lot of moving parts. We had to move the date of our F&M Open because of construction on campus. It just, one of those things. And, we moved it to the Marriott, which was a great venue, but also there's a lot of, we don't control the building as much as we do here, so we had to, a lot of scheduling, a lot of pre-planning. I have to give Mike Coach Childs, a lot of credit for kind of organizing that, putting that all together, and kind of helping us get that done, along with we contracted out with JB3 Sports, Jeff Boyer, that kind of helped manage everything else. So it was busy, but it was the Marriott was a nice venue. We had a decent number. Our number's a little bit down just because of the change of date and the time we had to go. But we still had a great event, very competitive tournament. yeah, it was a busy weekend for me because I flew out on the 27th with our guys to the Midlands with Coach Alton and Coach Borgia, and then the Midlands on the 29th and 30th. So I was out there for the first day of the competition, and then the 30th I took the first flight out of Chicago. Luckily, I got out of Chicago with the weather. I came, got a taxi, and drove right to the Marriott, and missed our first round, but got to see most of our guys wrestle at the at our Open, at the Dave Lehman F&M Open. Again, those guys did really well. I think we competed against some, Brown was there, Harvard was there. So again, these are teams that we're going to have to see and go through for our conference. We're going to see them in dual meets here not too long, from now. So it's all a great experience, and I think our guys are competing well. We're still making some mistakes. We're still doing some things that we need to improve on. But I think our competition poise is getting a lot better, how they handle themselves in matches and battling through some adversity on and off the mat type of thing.
Yeah, in the Open, I mean, it continues to evolve year after year. Where do you see it progressing forward? Where do you and your coaching staff want it to go?
We really think there's not really a big college tournament on the East Coast. I mean, you got the Midlands, you got the Southern Scuffle. We like to see it up at that level, a prestigious college level, tournament that is that people are looking to get into and want to participate in. So a lot of it's dates and scheduling, and is finding the right time that fits and attracting the right level of competition and getting those teams in there. So I see it, progressing to one of the elite college tournaments in the country down the road, and that's our ultimate goal. And I think we're getting there. A lot of people like how we do it. It's very organized. We make sure we cover all the aspects from the start time to running efficiently to having enough mats, have enough officials. So I think the more and more teams that come to it really like it and are already talking about coming back, and it's really just word of mouth and people enjoying their experience here and the level of competition. So we'd like to see it to be one of the premier college tournaments in the country, up there with the Midlands and the Southern Scuffle.
Yeah, and you talked overall about your guys' performance at the F&M Open, but specifically, you had 3 guys place. You had Anthony Mancini, Patty Quinlan, both took 4th. Antonio Paluzzi took 3rd, 285. It seems like every tournament he's been in lately, he's either placed or has performed really well. So just kind of talk a little bit about his performance, where he's at right now in the year.
Paluzzi's doing great. I think what he's finding out, and what he's working very closely with Coach Borgia, working his technique. He's found his style, and that's the biggest thing. Like, some of these guys just don't know their style yet, and I think he found his niche where he likes to wrestle, his comfort zone in terms of his attacks, foot sweeps to high crotch singles. Big thing, he's getting off the bottom. Guys aren't really holding him down. And heavyweight too, it comes down to a lot of being able to score that 1-2 point match and winning close, and so I think he came in with a focus of going to heavyweight. He was our backup 97-pounder, lifted, got bigger, but not only that, he's working on his style of wrestling the matches in his comfort zone as much as possible. And it's just a statistic thing. The more you wrestle a match where you feel comfortable, more often than not, things are going to fall in your favor. And I think he's just getting, every time he goes out, he's getting more and more confidence. He's getting more and more focus on where he wants to attack, and he's coming to us with game plans. Yeah, I think I can attack him here. I think this is where I need to be. And that's what you look for in an athlete, when they start taking ownership of their training, taking ownership of what techniques they want to work on and where they feel comfortable. Then you really have something there. And I think he's really starting to come into his own late in the season. And like you said, I think every tournament we've been at, he's placed or came pretty darn close. So that it's great to have. Our lighter weights have been typically strong, and having someone to anchor the program at the end is great to finish off and have someone competitive at the heavyweight level. And he's going to have 2 tough matches coming into this weekend too. So it's going to be very exciting to see where he ends up.
Yeah, so this weekend you guys are at the Pitt Duals. You've got 3 matchups on the slate. You start off with Davidson, you've EIWA opponent Columbia, and then you finish things off with number 20 Pitt. So it's been more than a month since your team's last duel. So should we expect many changes to the lineup based off of the last couple of tournaments?
There may be some shuffling around. There's some head-to-head matches in the F&M Open. We're doing some wrestle-offs today that can determine some factors. Big thing is we want the guys that are in the lineup be able to compete. So, one, winning the weight class, whether it's head-to-head or whatever, that's one step of it. The other step is performing it under pressure and performing when it counts, and that's the other factor we look at. But there's some weight classes that we're still challenging. 33, 70, 174. Those weight classes are really going to be interesting to watch. Aaron Moldoff is coming back at 125, so him and Edgar are going to have to settle that out. So, and that's good. It's good that we have competition at just about every weight class. It pushes the guys that are in the weight class to continue to progress, and the guys that are behind them working to get into that weight, that they still have opportunity to get into that lineup. But it's good to have competition at every weight class. But I think those 3 weight classes, there could potentially be some shifting depending on how things play out.
Yeah, so we're more than halfway through the season now. Where are you guys at mentally heading into this final stretch?
That's kind of where we talk a lot about that at this time of season. It's we're a little bit more than halfway through, and not only in our program, but every program in the country is kind of going through the same thing. You get guys that they're going to take 2 paths. Either they're excited about finishing this off, they've been training for X amount of months, and I got 2.5 more months to finish this off. I want to finish as strong as possible. The other path is, wow, this is long, this is hard, and I'm ready to be done. And they start going down another path. And a lot of that it's mental. It's mental toughness, having the heart, having the desire to do what we're doing. And training at this level, competing at this level is not easy. It takes a lot of internal motivation, a lot of mental and physical toughness. And that's not built for everybody. So it's interesting to see. You'll see, in our program and every program, you see guys in the country that, start off at gangbusters and really great and excited about it, and now it's getting long, and especially if your season's not going the way you expect it to, that's tough. It's tough to get up every morning, strap it on, and go in there and fight the fight, and if you're not having success or the expectations that you're hoping for, to keep doing that. So what we talk about a lot now is just the mental part of it, the emotional part of it. I think our cardio, our conditioning is really, you can't really do much with that. Technique-wise, you can make some adjustments and some improvements, but overall, it's having a desire to keep stepping on the mat. And what we tell our guys, you'll see guys in matches, and sometimes guys just want a reason to quit. So if you put the heat on, you push them, and that might be the reason they need to be done. So the big thing for us right now is just staying positive. Find what motivates you, whether that's your goals, whether that's, hey, I've worked X amount of months to get to this point. I'm gonna fight it out and do as best I can. But like I said, though, it's not for everybody. It's tough. It's hard. So once you find that desire, you got to keep plugging away. And I give these guys a lot of credit, especially if your season's not going the way you're hoping. And it's easy to be motivated when you're successful. That's fun when you're winning. But when you're struggling and taking your lumps, to keep fighting and keep coming back in, that takes a lot of. I give those guys a lot of credit. But rather, I think wrestling's a life sport too. You got to go out there. What's one-on-one, you can't make excuses. You either won or you're lost, and you got to take your lumps and keep plugging away. And the guys that do that, I think, are going to be successful in life in whatever they do. You'll just see it in them. The guys that train at this level, compete at this level, dedicate their time to what we're doing, regardless if they have the win record or loss record that they expected. But going through the process sets them up to be tough, strong young men going down the road. So that's what we're looking at to do. So, but I think most of our guys, for the majority of them, have the right attitude and the right heart to do what we're doing. So we're excited. And right now our tournament. A lot of our tournaments are out of the way, so like next couple months is mostly dual meets focus. Some of it's multiple duels, like we have 3 duels this weekend, and then some, mostly it's just, but you're just focused on 1 or 2 guys in front of you, not a, 5 or 6 tournament situation where you're wrestling 5 or 6 matches in a day. So it allows us to focus on, okay, this is who we have, this is what we need to focus on. You take care of one thing at a time.
Well, Mike, we appreciate your insight into the team, and good luck on Saturday in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, thanks.
And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to join us next week when we recap the Pitt Duals and take a look at F&M's home match against number 10 Lehigh.